Hey everybody. So why do I bother spending all my time and energy making compost when I can just buy fertilizer? Why not use fertilizers? And the reason I think it's important not to use fertilizers is that I think the carbon content of your soil, the amount of organic matter in your soil, will represent the health of the soil. The biological churning of the microbes and earthworms and crickets and all the other things in that soil is basically refreshing the organic matter in there, the life in there, and it's protecting us and keeping it current with our environment. I think it's important to feed off of living things when we're trying to rescue our health, because I think that's become a real problem with the autoimmune disorders and just essentially the breakdown of our immune systems. That the real reason to get that immune system going is to create carbon rich soil. And what happens when you use fertilizers is that you go around the microbes that would normally be feeding the plants their nutrients and getting a little bit of carbon exchange, this great currency that's going, or this great exchange that's going back and forth between the microbes and the plants, gets disrupted by the fertilizer, because you're starting to feed the plants directly now. You're giving the plants what they want in quantities they want, which is going to start putting pressure on the carbon supply of the soil, because everything will start feeding the plant more of the carbon out of the soil, because they know that they're going to get a great big harvest of carbon when that plant comes down and dies. All that carbon will be returned with extra carbon that's feeding out of the atmosphere. So in the meantime, they're willing to take a little bit of carbon in the form of an exudate from the plant, while giving the plant more of the carbon reserves than it would like to that would do. Is using up the carbon reserves to grow the plant, knowing that it's going to come back triple. It's an investment. But when you take the plant away, when you harvest it, the microbes don't get that return. And so putting that fertilizer on there and bumping up all the other nutrients so the carbon exhaustion gets bumped up as well. Well, when you harvest, of course, then that carbon is depleted out. If you add more fertilizers as opposed to adding more carbon and more humus and more organic matter, you'll get this depletion further and further, and eventually you'll get to a point where there's not enough organic matter in the soil to have a real lively population of microbes and earthworms and crickets and all those other things that are going to be contributing to the plant's health. That biological churning that I think is important, I think is missing in our food. So if you use fertilizers, I think that in the end, you're going to have less biological churning, because you're replacing the microbes that would normally be doing all that, but also that you're depleting the carbon out of the soil. Anyway, that's why I don't use fertilizers, and I've gone to the composting method exclusively. And tell me what you think. See ya.